What's going on, everybody? This is JVB with the Post Game Report podcast. It's been a while, yes, it has. And quite frankly, it takes a lot of energy for me to be motivated enough to do a podcast. So, what more motivation than Helldivers 2 on the PlayStation 5? I made a video on my YouTube channel about Helldivers 2 and why I found it to be an awesome game. Now, it's been a very long time since I've sat down, played multiplayer games, and in this case, Helldivers 2 on a PlayStation 5, and enjoyed myself with random people. As a matter of fact, ever since I've been playing Helldivers 2, I've had interactions with people on my friends list that I used to podcast with years ago. And I had no idea these people were on my friends list on the PlayStation Network. And lo and behold, someone would start talking to me. And I'm like, who the hell is this person? And then eventually through conversation, I'm like, holy shit, this is blah, blah, blah. So it's been a great experience with Helldivers 2. A great experience. It's one of the few multiplayer games that I can sit down and play for a few hours. Now, because of my brain injury, because of my traumatic brain injury, also known as TBI, I can play certain games for an extended period of time. Most of the time, people will see me playing Madden football. But in reality, what I'm doing in Madden football is franchise mode and then simulating the games. So I'm not even really playing the games. And forget about playing Madden football online against somebody else. I don't do that. The last time I played a multiplayer match against someone, I believe it was with TG1 Eddie, where we were testing out PlayStation Share. He had Madden, and I believe the both of us were able to play a multiplayer match against one another on his game. So that's what we were doing. We were testing out share play, I believe. So, Helldivers 2, what makes it so great, and it's hard to explain, but for me, what I'm going to talk about, and there's a chance that there's a video as I'm talking over the video on my YouTube channel. I'm going to talk about what makes it fun for me, what weapons I use, what armor I use, what stratagems I use, and maybe a few funny stories, or in some cases, annoying stories during the game, because Helldivers 2 has team kills. So that can be a good and bad thing. A lot of times it's comical, thankfully. So, yeah, I have a brain injury. I say I have brain damage because I do, and my wife hates it when I say that. So, playing Helldivers, here's my experience from somebody with a brain injury. Just in case anyone's listening and has something similar to what I have. Let's say I play Helldivers 2. You know what? From now on, I'm gonna call it HD2. Okay. So when I'm playing HD2, I can play probably 2 straight hours. What happens afterwards, and I noticed this a few weeks ago when a few of us were playing, and all of a sudden, I totally forgot my button layouts. I totally forgot what the hell I was there doing. And instead of bringing in stratagems, I was throwing grenades at my feet. I would respawn, and I would throw grenades at my teammates, thinking I'm bringing in stratagems, because what happens is in the beginning of the game, Everyone lands, and you bring in your support weapon. Some people will pick, let's say, the boost pack or the jump pack. I don't know the exact name, but that's the one I use a lot. And then you pair that with, let's say, the machine gun, right? Or the rail cannon. You only get 4 slots, depending on the difficulty you're playing. You get 4 slots, so you could pick stratagems, 2 support weapons, or some type of extra device, like the exoskeleton suit, right? And then you pick a booster. So when everyone lands, that's the first thing they do. They throw down a freaking... they throw down the whatever the hell you call it, right? The stratagem for your support weapon, and then for your, let's say, orbital shield that you get, that it's like a half shield that goes around you. Instead of doing that, I was throwing grenades at my feet, and then grenades at my teammates, and I did that 3 times in a row. And I'm screaming at myself, like, what the fuck is going on? And then followed by, I forgot how to shoot. I just totally got drained out. That's when I realized, okay, 2 hours is probably a safe bet. It's probably good enough for me to handle. And anything past that, I'm risking just falling apart. And then there was another funny story where I usually use the jump pack. That's the correct name, right? The jump pack. I like using that. It is very good at, I know I'm going to talk about this later, but I like using it. Once in a while, I'll use the shield. Once again, it's like a little half shield that covers your top half. So, I'm playing along with Ian, who I've been playing a lot of matches with. He's on Twitter as well. And we're running like towards, I guess the extraction or whatever. I don't know. We're running. I was going to use the jump pack to jump over an obstacle in front of me, and it didn't work. And I'm telling him, I'm like, yo, my X button is not working. My jump pack is not working. Now, I bought the DualSense Edge. It's a $200 controller. It's a pro controller. So the 2 back buttons, I have the left back button for reload, and I have the right back button for X, which is jump or interact with, your support weapon when it lands, or picking up ammunition, shit like that, right? So it replaces the X button. So I'm hitting the back button, then I hit the actual face button. I'm like, yo, my X button doesn't work. So what I did was I went to the menu, I paused really quick, used the X button, and I'm like, yo, it's working. This went on for about 5 minutes, maybe 10. Finally, I realized that I didn't have the jump pack. I had the fucking orb. The orb shield. And I'm like, dude. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I'm so freaking dumb. I don't have the jump pack. So Ian likes to use the jump pack as well. And, we had a good laugh for a few minutes, because I was really like, holy crap, this game is glitching out. It's not my controller. So those are the things that will happen. And then, to top it off, I will be exhausted, like mentally exhausted after playing. So I really have to play when I'm not going to do anything, because all of a sudden my eyes start turning red. I'm pretty beat. because there's a lot of explosions. Now, I think I can play the game because it's third person. It's in a third person perspective. Had this been Call of Duty, which is first person, and it's very fast and you're in tight corridors, that stuff used to get me dizzy to begin with, like Turok. I could not play Turok. I couldn't play Half-Life because it's so fast and you're in corridors, and all of a sudden I would get like freaking claustrophobic. But now you triple that because of my brain injury. So I can play it when there's a lot of explosions. It messes me up. But I can either look away for certain things, or when shit gets really crazy and people are throwing stratagems and there's freaking a 5K bomb over there, orbital laser over here, cluster bomb over there, and all of a sudden the servers can't handle all of that and everything's stuttering around. That really starts freaking me out. So yeah, these are the things I have to deal with. But under those circumstances, I'm willing to make a few sacrifices to enjoy this freaking game. Now, I'm not one of these people that's going to blow smoke up your ass and tell you that a game is great and it's the best thing since sliced bread. No, I'm not going to do that. A lot of people have echoed exactly what I'm saying. HD2 is an awesome experience. Visually, it's not the most breathtaking game that you will ever see, but it works for what it is. You'll get new maps thrown in that will have different environments, a lot of fog or a lot of freaking acid rain. There's one in the blizzard where your character can't even move, and I tried using the jetpack or the jump pack while the blizzard was going. It won't even allow you to do that because I wanted to see if my character, had I used the jump pack, if the force of the blizzard would carry my character away. But no, it didn't even allow me to do that. So you get little fine touches like that, where overall it gives you a visually pleasing experience. And because a lot of the planets seem to be during nighttime, or there'll be some kind of day and night cycle, for some reason, maybe just not using HDR or something, for some reason I can handle it visually. I do suffer from photophobia, so light affects me in a negative way. So I have to wear sunglasses all the time, sometimes in the house. But anyway, you can get my initial review at my YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already and you saw it. So what I use, right? You can use light armor, medium armor, or heavy armor. You can use machine guns that fire rapidly, or you can use shotguns that give you more firepower but shoot at a slower rate. You can use energy weapons that will, when they hit the target, it sets off a little explosion at the same time. Then you have energy weapons, lasers, and other weapons that shoot fire, like a freaking blowtorch. Then you have sidearms. Not many. You don't have many sidearms. You have a few pistols, a little Uzi that comes in really handy when you're using a slower weapon. A primary weapon I'm talking about. And then you have several grenades. You have impact grenades that I use all the time that go off immediately. Immediately, as soon as it hits a target, it impacts, right? Or it detonates. Then you have your traditional, you throw it, you wait a little bit, 2 seconds, it goes off. Then you have a new one that came out, which I can't right now remember the freaking name. but you throw it, it sticks on a surface, and then it sparks for a little bit, and then it goes off like a mini explosion. Very small explosion. And I'm sure later on I'll fucking remember the name. But that just came out. That was something that you could pay for with in-game currency. Or if you want to pay $10, you can pay for the new, not store. And once again, I'm blanking out. My bad. But you do get, for example, you get the choice of several items you can purchase with in-game currency, aka medals. So let's say you have 300 medals. You'll have the ability to, and on page 1 of this little market that you have, you can spend a certain amount. You'll have a choice of an armor, a helmet, cape, some type of currency, which is super credits that you can use to buy. Let's say you have 1,000 super credits. You can purchase these new in-game, for example, the latest theme that they came out with was explosions. Beforehand was energy weapons. So you had armor that can handle, let's say, a Tesla grenade. And you have all of this electricity sparking everywhere that can harm your teammates as well, and you, the user. So this particular armor is themed for that. The weapons are, more explosive. So the latest one is aimed at fire, grenade type weapons. I use the one called the Disruptor, which is amazing. It's like a bolt action shotgun or sniper rifle. Correct that, it's more of a sniper rifle. It's very clunky, but when you freaking use it correctly, it can make life really easy for your teammates. Now, once again, I apologize for not knowing the exact name of this little marketplace, but it uses in-game currency, and if you want, when there's a new theme of, let's say, weapons, armor, and shit like that, you can pay $10 if you want, or if you have 1,000 super credits, which you collect in-game, you can purchase through the super credits. And then every day they come, or every 2 days, you'll get the option to use super credits on a few bits of armor and not weapons, but armor. And you'll see 2 options for light armor, heavy armor, the helmet that goes with it, the cape, stuff like that. Anyway, so what do I use when I play Helldivers? Well, in Helldivers, you're facing off against Terminids and the Automaton. The Automaton are robots. Think of the Terminator. The Terminids are insects. So think of Super Troopers. And depending on the difficulty, you can go from trivial all the way to suicide or something like that, level 9. So you go from level 1 to 9. The highest level I've played was 7, and that was sick. So you have a choice. You can play on the left side of the galaxy, which is where the Automaton is invading several planets, and each planet has some kind of condition. One planet is mostly snow and ice, and then you get this massive blizzard several times depending on the length of the game that you chose, the missions that you got to play and all that. And then on the right side, you have the Terminus, the insects, and you'll get the same thing where there could be a level that's entirely full of fog and you're running. You and your team is running around, trying to go mission to mission or objective to objective, and all of a sudden you see a charger coming at you because you can't see them until it's almost too late. So what I like to do when I play, I'll start off with the Terminids. When I play the Terminids, I like to use speed. So I'll pick a light armor. Each armor has some type of benefit to them. Some light armor, well, this goes for the medium and heavy armor. You can pick a light armor that gives you 2 extra grenade slots. It can also give you the ability to crouch or lay prone and minimize recoil. Some of these guns have a lot of recoil. I like to use that. I like having the 2 extra grenade slots. Now, some people will use a medic. There's a light armor for medic, which has 2 extra sim slots. And some people will actually use that in the very, very hard levels, 7 to 9, because you get extra stims. So as you're freaking getting destroyed, you're hitting yourself with stims, and you have the speed, because you're using light armor, to get away and recuperate. And that's one thing in this game that is very important. You can get overwhelmed easily. Once you start hitting, let's say challenging on up. Challenging, I believe, is 4. Level 4 to 9. What makes it difficult is not that the enemies get stronger, because they don't cheat that way. The enemies just, you get more of them. And let's say the Terminids, their pattern is that they'll surround you. You'll get enemies sneaking behind you. You'll see some of the bigger bugs going around you, so you have to pay attention to that. Then you have, when you start hitting level 4 and up, you'll get more variety in the enemies, and you have freaking chargers that have impenetrable freaking armor in front. So you have to use special weapons to crack that armor. But their weak spot is their tail, or the backside is exposed. So if you manage to use maybe a quasar cannon and aim it directly into the soft spot, then you may kill it with one shot. But I like to use the orbital rail cannon, the stratagem, and that takes it out immediately. The same thing with the bigger, I forgot the name of the giant bug. See, I'm blanking out. So with those bigger enemies, as you start going up to level 4 and above, I usually start at, when I'm testing out weapons, I'll do trivial just to test out the weapons, see which ones I like. But most of the time when I'm playing with randoms, I'll start at challenging. Sometimes these randoms will just, as they get more people, they get a full room of 4, they'll ramp up the difficulty. So what I use against the Terminids, I know I said this before, so what I use, I go with speed. So I will pick a light armor. Most of the time, the light armor I pick is a armor with extra grenades. Then, the helmet really doesn't change anything. They all have the same ratings. So it's up to you. But there is rumors that some helmets actually provide some stealth benefits. I'm not sure. But overall, the look of the helmet is up to you. Same thing with the cape. But the most important thing is the armor that you select. Do you want more grenades? Do you want more stims? if you play against the automaton, you can use stealth. So there's some armors, light armors, that will provide stealth. So for me, I use speed and extra grenades. Now, there is a pistol, a secondary pistol, that shoots grenades. After you shoot, you get 8 rounds. After you shoot a round, you have to reload. But it is effective when trying to control a lot of bugs that are charging you, because that's what the bugs do. They surround you on all sides. So my primary weapon against bugs will be the sickle, which is a machine gun, but it's an energy weapon. And it freaking has a rotor, and it's like a minigun. So you have to give it a little time for it to start shooting. So that's something where the speed provides, it allows you to run back, get that space while the rotor begins to rev, and then your gun will begin to shoot its rounds. And the good thing about the sickle is that it's an energy weapon. It's an energy weapon. So let's say you will run out of rounds if it overheats and you have to put in a new round or a new cartridge. But if you stop shooting before it overheats, you'll see a little indicator letting you know that it's cooling down, and then you can reuse it. So you technically, if you time it correctly and you use the sickle correctly, you can never hit the reload button. And I've played many matches like that because I've learned to shoot at bugs, and I give myself it's more of a rhythm. And I follow this rhythm, and then I stop shooting. I'll use my secondary really quick, or because I have light armor and I have a lot of speed, I'll back away and then let it cool down, use my secondary or my support weapon, depending. Sometimes I'll use a machine gun just so I can get that extra firepower. Like, for example, I will never use the anti-tank rocket launcher because I don't need to on smaller enemies, but on, let's say, a charger or something, you could use it. But anyway, so I have my sickle. I have my as my secondary weapon is either the Uzi, which shoots rapidly, and it's great for when you're in a tight spot, or I use the explosive gun, or the handgun that shoots grenades. It's like a little mini grenade launcher. But that one, if you shoot too close, you're dead as well. So those are my weapons, right? And then I'll use the impact grenades. So that's my layout. I choose speed, and I have my main weapon that shoots a lot of bullets to control the amount of enemies that are coming at me. I have my secondary weapon that if I hit a bunch of enemies from a distance, it can take out a bunch of them with the grenade launcher. And then I have grenades that go off on impact. And because I chose a uniform with 2 extra grenade slots instead of starting with 4, I now have 6. So you can, when there's a bug breach and bugs start coming out of the ground, you can toss those grenades and you'll see, 10 whatever kills in a row or whatever. Well, not in a row, in one shot. One grenade, it'll take out a bunch. So then my stratagems, my setup is usually, I will select, depending on the level, once again, on level 4, you start seeing chargers. You can use an orbital laser, but it takes a little time. But the benefit of an orbital laser is that it'll go from one enemy that it just killed and then start killing other enemies. So if you're surrounded by like 100 bugs, you throw down an orbital laser, it'll kill all of those bugs. But a charger, it'll stick on the charger because it's the biggest enemy on the field, and it will focus on the charger, but the charger will keep running. It'll charge you as it's getting hit with this laser. So it takes more time. If you use the railgun will take it out instantly. So for that, I'll use a railgun. So if I'm on levels 1 through 3, I'll use the laser. Levels 4 and up, I'll use a stratagem. Well, I'll use the rail cannon stratagem. Then I'll use the cluster bomb, because the cluster bomb, you can get about 4. You can throw down 4 cluster bombs. And it has a quick refresh. So I can throw one down. You'll get a freaking cluster of freaking missiles, shooting, whatever. And then it counts down for about, I believe, 4 seconds or 8 seconds, something like that. You have 4 separate opportunities to use the cluster. And then when you'll hear, there's a lot of communication between you and your freaking mothership. I always call it a mothership. So you'll hear, as you finish all of your cluster bombs, you'll hear them saying, going back to reload, or heading back to the ship to reload. Then you'll get a countdown showing what stratagems are available to you, or how long you have until they replenish. But the time for the cluster bombs to replenish is pretty freaking quick. So that's why I use it. And that is more for crowd control. Then I'll use the jump pack. I stated this earlier. The jump pack allows you, especially if you're using a light armor, man, you can travel a long distance, and most importantly, you can escape a lot of situations where you're totally surrounded, and you can manage to freaking outsmart a freaking charger or a bile titan. That's the bigger enemy. That's the enemy that I forgot. The bile titan. They're much bigger than the freaking chargers. So it shoots like this acidic venom at you. And it'll kill you instantly. So when you're surrounded by all of these bugs, you have the jump pack. You can jump on a rock, use the light armor and the speed rating that you get to give yourself some distance. And when you have enough distance, you can either use some grenades to give yourself a little extra distance, or more distance in this case. And then if you have the opportunity, in my case, I use the cluster bomb. I'll throw it down and keep running. And then it won't kill an entire crowd of bugs, but it will give me even more distance. The one thing with HD2 is that if you run away, and the enemy, if you run away far enough, the enemies will stop chasing you because they can no longer see you or sense you, whatever. So you can use that strategy. I've seen people play on level 9, and they were freaking just running around running around freaking chargers, and you had all of these freaking stalker bugs that are invisible and then sneak up on you. They were just running as fast as they could, using the fucking jump pack to escape, giving themselves a lot of distance, and then all of a sudden, from a distance, they start to eliminate the bugs and use their stratagems and all that. It's a really good idea to do that. Now, with a lighter armor, you will die a lot easier. There is some heavy armor that will take a freaking charge from a charger. Or you can use the orb shield. And I was in a game where the charger hit me. I had no idea it was running towards me. My character flies, but I survived. I had 50% of my health, and I was able to get up, run away, use a stratagem, and then use the rail cannon stratagem to kill it. I think I said stratagem twice when I used a stem to help heal me. So that is what I use, and then there's boosters. So each booster has a different benefit for the entire team. You can use one that will give you a little more health. You can use one that when you and your teammates land for the first time, or whenever someone dies and they call in for support, you have full ammunition. Meaning, instead of having, in the case of my layout, instead of having 4 grenades, because my uniform has the 2 extra slots for grenades, it will give my character the 6 grenades right off the bat. But then you have other stratagems, or boosters, that will give you more stamina. So if you're in a mission where you want to run, because some missions will last only 12 minutes, where you have to eliminate bug holes and stuff like that. Not bung holes or butt holes. Relax. Bug holes. Those are timed and they're very quick. So the best strategy is maybe 2 players go one direction, 2 players go another direction, or all 4 players go to a separate part of the map, eliminate, shoot. Usually, to close these holes, you either have to use a grenade, or you can use, let's say, a quasar cannon, or throw a freaking laser stratagem or whatever. So whatever method you use it to close these holes, and then that's when you got to close a certain amount, and then the mission is accomplished. They call in the extraction team and they pick you up, and then boom, you got, if you picked up metals, and other items, because I'm blanking out right now, I apologize. Then you'll see a little rundown of the experience, the metals you picked up, the samples. That's what I was trying to get to. You'll see a rundown of all of that. And then, of course, you get super credits if you find them. You get beacons that, if you open them up, you'll either get super credits or a support weapon, things like that. Anyway, so that's what I use. That is my layout. And it works. For everybody, it's going to be different. Some people like to use more traditional machine guns. Some people like to use the breaker with the incendiary rounds, where it shoots incendiary rounds, and you'll see the bugs catching fire. And I like to use the breaker. If I'm going to use a shotgun, I'll use the breaker. But my gun of choice for Terminids is the sickle. Now, when I go to the automaton, they are different, because they are robots and they shoot back. Some of these robots will have freaking laser guns. Well, all of them have laser guns. But some will have rocket launchers. They'll throw fucking grenades at you. Some will be on turrets. And then you'll have these bases that you have to infiltrate, and they have these giant laser turrets following you. I've been in situations where I'm chilling, I'm reloading my gun, and all of a sudden, boom, you see my character blow up into pieces. And I'm like, what the hell happened? And we didn't know that we were in the range of one of their weapons, even though the freaking mothership tells you you're in the range of enemy of an enemy weapon or something like that. So for the automatons, you get bigger robots as well. Same thing with the Terminids. Depending on the level, you'll see a variety of enemies. You can have these huge, they call them Hulks, and they'll have a buzzsaw on one arm and a flamethrower on the other. And they are difficult to shoot down. So either you have a rail cannon stratagem, or you have a quasar gun and you hit it. There's a part of the back plate that is exposed, similar to the Charger, and if you hit that with one of the energy weapons, or it could even be a sniper rifle, depending. Some weapons will weaken it with 2 shots and destroy it. Some you need like a few rounds. But when you're close to that range of the flamethrower, it will destroy your whole team. When you see that Hulk marching down and you're trying to shoot it with little weapons, and you're like, what the hell? And then you're thinking, all right, I got a little distance, and all of a sudden they destroy you with a flamethrower. Then they have actual tanks. And they have this new walker, like this, Imperial Walker type thing from Star Wars. That's on the real harder levels. That requires a lot of freaking firepower to bring it down. So the automatons, they march towards you. And they don't try running around you. They'll just march towards you. So you have these little at walkers. You can, with certain weapons, shoot the leg. It goes down, and the rider will start chasing you. You shoot him. Well, you shoot the robot. They are more predictable, but the thing is, they're shooting at you, and they have supreme aim. So before some of the updates, they were shooting us with headshots. It was quite annoying. And then you have these drop ships that will bring down more freaking automatons, and you'll get more variety of them. So it can be extremely challenging when you're facing the higher level of automatons, because you have more Hulks, more tanks. Then you have this freaking giant walker thing. It can get insane. And depending on the game type, I played one game type where we had to escort scientists to a freaking a secure location. We were so freaking overwhelmed by the automatons that we didn't even have time to release any of the freaking scientists so that we can escort them to the other side of the level. It was freaking annoying. There was no fun in that. And as soon as we spawn, we're trying to throw reinforcement. You're dead. You're dead. So you need a team that knows what they're doing. You need to have a team of 4, and you need to communicate when you're picking your stratagems, when you're picking your weapons, so that you can compensate for one another. So what I use for the automatons, because it requires less run and gun, I'll use, and I'm very stubborn when it comes to the type of equipment that I pick, I'll use a freaking light armor. But this time, instead of using the jump pack, I'll use the little orbit shield because it'll take quick projectiles and protect you from that. But it will go down. It will have to reload or something, and then you're exposed. So you have to worry because now you have light armor, so you need to give yourself a lot of distance as well. I'm more, because of my slow reaction time, I like to sit back more, especially with the automaton. So I'll use the disruptor, which is, once again, a bolt-action sniper rifle with an explosive round. And if you hit some of the enemies, the bigger enemies, in the right location, you can kill them with 2 shots. And that's better for me because I have more time to react as the action is getting closer. When I am overwhelmed, forget about it. I'm done. I can't. My reaction time has been hampered by my brain injury. It's done by then, right? The best I can do is either throw a grenade down on my feet and take some with me, or maybe a stratagem if I'm quick enough. A lot of people know these stratagems by heart, and I forgot to say that for those that don't know, you need to use the thumb pad to hit a bunch of directions, left, right, down, up, left, and your stratagem is coming down. Even for reinforcements, you have to hit a directional, you have to hit a sequence with your D-pad. So not only do you have a bunch of enemies chasing you, let's say you're the last one alive and you have to call reinforcements, because when your character dies, someone needs to call back reinforcements because they're essentially mimicking that someone else is coming down. That soldier that you once had that died from an explosion is no longer alive. Now you're a brand new soldier. That's from what I heard. Anyway, someone has to call you down. Either 1 or 2 people, and then the third comes down eventually. There's a timer. So there have been times where I was the last one alive. I didn't have time to call in reinforcements because I'm fighting off robots. I use, once again, the orb shield and light armor. I give myself enough distance so I can call in reinforcements and then call in a freaking stratagem to give me some extra space. And the same applies. When I select my stratagems, it's depending on the difficulty level, I will pick the rail cannon stratagem and the cluster bomb. And if I pick medium armor that provides a little more protection, there's some armor that will actually protect you. It gives you 50% chance of surviving like a direct hit. So, or bleeding out, stuff like that. So if you select one of those particular armors and you skip out on the orb shield or the jump pack, you can select a turret gun. You get a sentry that shoots nothing but rockets, or an autocannon turret, or a sentry cannon. You get a few choices. You'll get a Tesla turret that'll just set off this freaking huge antenna that just has this electricity, and it's spread out for a certain distance. So if you're anywhere near that, you're going to die. It'll hit you. So that's very good for like tight quarters, and you want to eliminate some bugs. I'll use it mainly for the bugs, but you can use it for the automatons. Anyway, I know I'm babbling at this point. But once again, for my automaton layout, I will use the disruptor. I will use the little Uzi gun. I forgot the technical name for it. Because the disruptor is a slow gun. It's a bolt action gun. So every time you shoot, there's an animation where you're reloading. There are times where the freaking automaton, there will be a robot with a little jump pack of their own, and they'll jump towards you. So they'll I'm giving myself some distance, and they'll make up that distance by jumping towards me with this jump pack. And I'm beginning to be pretty effective with switching to my secondary weapon and shooting them as they get close. And it usually, the weaker automatons, it'll just eat through them. For the bigger ones, there's no use. Don't even bother. So it is really good when I'm using a slow primary weapon, and that will allow me to escape by shooting something that is, in this case, an automaton that is fairly close. I can shoot it, and then I'll run away, give myself some distance, reload my primary, and then I'll use my stratagems or whatever, or find my teammates, and then we can get rid of, whatever. Sometimes I've used the disruptor with a heavy machine gun. That works as well. That is a support weapon, though. So you can call in, let's say, a flamethrower. There are several machine guns, heavy machine guns you can bring down as your support weapon. You can bring a grenade launcher. You could bring freaking a rail gun. Or you can bring down an exoskeleton suit. And you can wreak havoc with that, a.k.a. a freaking robot that you sit in and you're shooting rockets and, machine gun rounds. And it does a heck of a job against the freaking bugs, against the Terminids. So sometimes I'll pick a heavy machine gun as my support weapon. But for the most part, I select, once again, either the stratagem, the laser cannon, or the autocannon, the rail cannon, stratagem, and then the cluster bomb. Sometimes I'll pick all three, and I'll just freaking run around with my primary. And that's the other thing. You're communicating with your team, and you're saying, okay, you guys have this covered, so I really don't need, let's say, a quasar cannon to shoot down the freaking dropships. So I'll select something else that will give me distance. I can use, let's say, an anti-material gun, which is a sniper rifle that is effective against the automatons. And I can give myself distance by looking from further with the scope. And not only that, I can mark the enemies that are ahead, and we can choose whether we're going to fight against them or ignore them and just keep running the opposite direction. Sometimes they're in the way of the objective, and so I can, with my sniper rifle, and you have a good scope with the disruptor as well. And so for me, somebody with slow reaction time, I can have enough space where I sit back, I scout the area, I mark the enemies, and then I can give support when everybody else is raising hell with their stratagems, their freaking 5K bombs, their napalm bombs, and all that. And I can sit back and do my sniping from a distance. But then you'll get freaking automatons marching from the opposite direction. So you have to be careful. So, you know, I could have a freaking Hulk just marching behind me and he just destroys me. So you really got to be careful. Anyway, that's my layout against the Terminids and the Automatons. And I have a lot of fucking fun using this layout, using the jump pack against Terminids. Sometimes I use it as well against the Automatons, but I like having a sentry turret. And that especially comes in handy when we're waiting for the extraction ship to come pick us up. It gives us more defense. Oh, something fell. So I've had some instances where we had funny stories. Today I was actually playing a little bit because every day you get a personal order. So let's say the personal order is, now it ain't personal to me, it's for everybody. Everyone who decides tomorrow morning they're going to play Helldivers 2, you'll see a personal order. It gives you 15 medals, and the medals you use as currency. So let's say, as a matter of fact, today's personal order was kill 40 enemies using anti-tank mines. Because you have a stratagem where you throw it down and a bunch of mines just shoots. You know, it spreads out all over all over a certain area. So I had to use that to kill 40 enemies. So I went on trivial, had a bunch of Terminids chasing me around, and then I just led them to wherever I set up my mines, used the jump pack to jump over them, and then kept accumulating kills until the personal order was done. I got my 15 medals, and then I turned it off. And then I played later on. But when I did play later on, I was freaking annoyed because I was playing. You can play with random people. You can hit square, and it will find the game for you. You'll either play with someone on the PlayStation 5 or on PC. So I was on a team that had 3 people who were under level 10. Now, I don't care. I'm not one of those snobs. I believe I'm at a level 47. So we're playing. Actually, we're playing, I believe, on challenge mode. Or challenge level, excuse me. So there's some chargers, there's some freaking spewer bugs, these giant fat bugs that shoot acid. And I'm, using my freaking anti-material gun. I'm using the freaking rail cannon stratagem to get rid of the charger. I'm using my sickle. And these fucking idiots are throwing napalm strikes as I'm in there, and I already eliminated the fucking threat. That happened like 3 times in a row, and I'm like, yo, and nobody's talking. So my mic was on mute, and I'm like, these motherfuckers. And then they pick up my fucking weapons. Because you can, let's say you pick up samples. Now, samples you use to fund, the more you accumulate, but it limits out, right? There's a maximum amount of samples you can pick up. So you can pick up 1,000 samples, but you're only gonna allow to have 500. So you use these samples. There's common, there's rare, and then there's another even more rarer sample on the harder levels. I need more of those to upgrade my ship. And that's how you get the stratagems, that's how you get the support weapons and things like that. So I'm sitting there, I'm a badass, I'm just getting rid of, enemies. These guys are running around trying to figure out how to kill the damn charger. I throw the freaking rail cannon stratagem. It kills it in one shot. I'm eliminating bugs. There's nothing left, and then boom. So when you die, any samples you pick up are left in the pile of meat, right? That is your body, depending on how you die. It could be blown to pieces or chopped up. And then you can also pick up my weapons, my support weapons, which they don't have access to because they haven't reached a certain level. So these fuckers take my shit. Now the samples is one thing. Everybody gets the samples. So if I pick up 10 samples, the entire team has 10 samples. The same thing works with the currency, super credits, things like that. But when you have, let's say I had the freaking orb shield and I had the anti-material gun, these fuckers picked it up and they're running around with my shit. I was furious. I was pissed off because I didn't have my medication. So it was a good thing I was on mute because I was ready to freaking chew them out. But then they would, call for me to be reinforced, to be respawned. And then they would freaking sit near my freaking, let's say I have a machine gun support weapon or whatever. They'll stand near that and tell me that it's there. But meanwhile, he's wearing my freaking protective shield. Freaking prick. The rule of thumb when you're with a good team is that, let's say you get your ass run over by a charger. Your teammate calls you down, right? You get shot down from your ship. You land. Your teammate, a good teammate, will mark on the map where your equipment is at. Or they'll freaking throw the orb, right? It's like a little grenade. You throw it on the ground, and that's where you land. You can sometimes, on a side note, use that to kill an enemy. Throw a freaking support orb, and hopefully lands near an enemy, and then as you land, you can kill a giant charger or something. So a lot of guys or gals will throw the freaking orb so that you land near your equipment. And no one will, they'll pick up the samples, but they'll leave your freaking equipment alone. That's how you play. Because when I called down in the beginning of a match, I called down a support weapon and let's say a freaking jump pack. It takes like 2 minutes for that timer to dwindle down so that I can call down another one. So for 2+ minutes, I have to change my play style. And it might sound like nothing, but believe me, when you're accustomed to using a certain layout and all of a sudden you see some newbie grab your stuff and they're running around and you're like, you freaking bastard. You'll feel the effects because now you're thinking that you can use the jump pack to run away, but you don't have it, especially me with my brain damage. So anyway, I've been on this for an hour and I could keep freaking talking more about Helldivers 2 because it is one of those games, and I'm telling you, I haven't felt the need to sit down and play a video game over the internet, with other people, randoms. I haven't had that in a long time, since the Halo days. For Halo, I used to play for hours and hours with randoms. I didn't give a shit. And a lot of times I was leveled higher than them, so I would carry the team, help them level up. The same thing applies to Helldivers 2. I'm playing with people with lower levels who are just picking this game up, and I'm helping them level up, even though they're not talking on their fucking microphones. But there's this communication where it's like, okay, you see them following me. You see them, they don't know how to do a certain let's say a sequence on a terminal for one of the missions. So I'll do it. And the game becomes fun, even though we're not talking. Then there's other people that I've actually added on my fucking PlayStation Network friends list because we were chatting, having good conversations. I had one individual before I leave. I had one individual, we were playing the match, just some random dude, he's talking. He picked up my sickle when my character died. He brought me back. I respawn. Now your primary, you land with your primary all the time when you are called down for reinforcement. So he was a lower level. He picks up the sickle. He's like, oh my God, this gun is amazing. I'm like, yeah, it is. And he's like, yo, I picked it up. I said, no, I have my own. Use it, And I explained to him, make sure you don't overheat the gun, and you don't have to reload. So he was learning how to use the gun, and we're talking, chatting as we're going along. And he's like, yo, how old are you? And I told him, I said, I'm 51 years old. He goes, holy shit, dude. He goes, that is fucking awesome. I'm going to be like you too. He goes, I'm in my 20s, but nothing ain't stopping me from playing video games. I don't give a fuck how old I am. And I said, amen to that, brother. So those are the little memories that I remember from back in the day, meeting new random people and then becoming acquaintances on, our PlayStation or Xbox networks. Some of these people in the past I've been very close friends with. And it was good to play with some friends from back in the day, like guys from the GamerCast network. I mean, some of you guys aren't familiar with that, but my friend Lano, a bunch of other guys that I haven't heard from in a long time, and I'm like, holy shit, man! This is like, yo, we are reliving our past, and it feels fucking good. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. Let me know what you think about Helldivers 2. I didn't want to pick this game up. I am so glad I did. It's well worth the $40. It is mindless fun. It is a good conversation piece when you're actually in game with a good team. And then, of course, after you're done playing, you also have good conversations because funny shit does happen. So let me know. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm JVB. Talk to you guys later.